It started hitting the record button, and we talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. We have hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of raw video footage and audio footage that we went through over months at a time to come up with what we did. And that was, I started sort of carving my way through all that footage to find, and then about halfway through that process, I started to see an outline. And I was like, okay, this is the outline. This little chunk of gold we have here, this little chunk here, that'll work. And we're going to interlay it with this, and it sort of built from there. I don't know if this is getting to your question, but it started, like I said earlier, Diana said, hey, let me take a picture of you. And those pictures are right over here on the wall. These particular ones from the chapel on the hill. You guys are seeing some special images now. We decided to unveil some secret stuff we've been hiding for a little while, or rather, I should say, we've been compiling it. And we started editing the movie you just watched in October and November of last year. The bulk of that content was in front of us, and we were piecing together the story. Meanwhile, and subsequently, we have not stopped. We're working already on what we would call the sequel to this, and other projects too. And one of the beautiful things that has grown out of this project, I should say, and that's, if you would pardon the pun, grown, is this incredibly deep and immersive tapping into nature element to what we do. And to some level, it's most unexpected and the most welcome surprise. And it's become a regular practice, if you will, and sort of the backbone foundation of the work that we do as filmmakers now. It's like we start with this and work out from there. Because the deeper we go into exploring nature and exploring what we can find and what we can document and bring back with us, we are on an amazing journey that neither one of us expected. And whether you had this question in your mind or not, I'm just going to tell you, because this was a thing that did not exist over a year ago. Just a little over. It was not on anyone's calendar. Okay, and I spoke about this in our early fall fundraisers when we were showing Diana's amazing still photography that's affiliated with our project for the first couple times. Growing up and learning about people in school and reading books and all the things the things and people that get thrown at us and the things that we learn. And one of the things that's always consistent when you read and you learn about great people is that there's always a story, there's always a situation or a place or a time in their life that there was this event that happened, this out of left field, unexpected thing that came out of nowhere and wasn't on their calendar until it was, and then it changed everything, or they had this, you always hear about these stories. And this was the one for me. This was it. It was like the one I'd always been waiting for that had never happened. I was like, well, I guess that's not going to happen to me. And then it did. This movie happened. It was like completely was not there 1 minute, and then it was. And a month ago, we had a screening here, and somebody, I think it was the very first question somebody had asked. They said, why'd you do this? Or what made you want to do this, or something like that? At first, of course, we didn't know. I didn't know. And I wasn't quite sure. It took quite a lot of convincing at first. Because the immediate thought of it was, oh my goodness, this is way too big of a risk. That's just crazy. That wouldn't make any sense. It didn't take me long to realize that I was dealing with a mandate. I was dealing with some marching orders from God, if you will. And it was a situation like, okay, Paul, you got two choices. You can sit back and accept things as they are. And we'll see how you feel about that when you die, and you go to the next phase and deal with that decision. Or you could do this and start following your soul's true purpose. For real. Not pretending like you are, but really doing it. And I'm giving you a chance to do that. So you go do that. And if you do, and if you commit to that, I will show you some shit like you have never seen. And there are wonders for you if you commit. And I cannot tell you how unexpectedly huge that commitment was going to be and how huge it was, unbeknownst to me. I've said this to Diana many times. I knew I was better enough to say, okay, I'll make this movie. I'll do this. But I had no idea how much further I had to go to do it, actually do it, and to follow through and to make it through it. I had no clue how much healing was left to do. And I'm here to tell you that there is still a lot left to do. This is a lifelong process. And I'm in it now for good. It's a commitment. This movie is just a foundational building block. We are creative people, and we're not going to stop doing that. But ultimately, this is about the practice. This is about, like I say in the film, making this a lesson for all of us and not just me. We are in this together, whether we like it or not. It's not about agreeing on everything. That is not the point. Like I say in an earlier scene, there is not a political answer. There is not a financial answer. There is not a physical answer. There is a spiritual answer to everything. Everything in life. And Diane and I feel strongly about this, that it's important to continue to pursue the angle of the family, because I know for me personally, without my family, I wouldn't be standing here. I'd be in a ditch 15 years ago, okay? Let's just be fair. And we know for a fact, Diane and I have personal experience in our own ways, families go through hell with this kind of thing. And they just do. And we just can only hope that if we continue to pursue the proper discussions about that we can do a little good. Because this, to me and to us, this is the story. Is our ability to discuss. It's not just sitting around enjoying a movie. I wouldn't care about making movies if that was the case. It has to mean something. Being a composer my whole life, I take that part for granted. Maybe. And with this film anyway, the way I described it to Diana was kind of like being a sculptor. Not ever having been a sculptor, I don't really know if this is the best analogy I came up with. But I find that having to hold together the entire idea, like a composer would if he or she were composing an opera, which has its visuals, it has its music, it has all of those elements in the same way that film does in the modern world. I really, really, really like the process of trying to hold an entire gigantic idea in my mind and conceive it using all the elements, music, sound, and visuals, and human beings, and discussion and all this stuff. I don't know if that answers your question, Tom, but I certainly don't take editing film for granted in the same way that I might as a composer, because I've been doing that since I was 4. This feels like a natural progression for me as a creative person. Just take the whole thing and give myself a way to shape a giant idea. It was early 2010, and I had one of the worst suicidal bouts that I'd ever been through, and my dear friend Rhonda will remember a bit about this. And at the time, my older brother, who is not here tonight, but who wrote the verse that you see at the very beginning of the film, came to visit me, came to be with me at the time. And at the time, I had done a little bit of research. I've been quite a bit. But it was just digging, and I didn't have any direct experience of anything. But at that time, I remember telling him, just right out of the blue, I said, dude, I gotta go do this. This is what I need to do. This is gonna help me. This other shit that I've been doing for years is not gonna help. This might help. I'm gonna go try that. And it wasn't until 3 years later that I had the time and the money and the wherewithal and the resources and the ability to go do it. But I already knew somewhere that I had to do it. And I just had to find a point in my life to pull the plug. And once I did, man, the stuff started really changing. I went back 2 years later, and that was a sketchy moment for myself and for the family, to be fair, because that would, if you do the math, that would be 2015. And if you remember, the beginning of the movie, that was the year I got diagnosed. And I told my family, I said, I'm not taking these pills. I'm going back to Peru. And they said, okay. For better or for worse, there it is. The first trip to Peru triggered a 5 to 6 year period of anxiety attacks. And at their peak, they were 5 times a day. And that lasted for almost a year. And then it went up into that and went down. And I don't have time to describe all of the symptomatology of that, but I'm going to go into it in subsequent interviews. We've already begun to compile that, but I've got to go deeper into that. So that was the first thing. And so, like I joked about with Diana in the film, it's like, oh, this is better than depression. I'll take the anxiety attacks. It feels a hell of a lot better than just debilitation. At least I feel something moving in my system again. It was brutal, but that's how it started. And so, it was a bumpy ride. I was doing some things shamanically that were kind of against the handbook, if you will. And I was still trying to clean out. It takes years. For example, with meat, I'm not pointing any fingers. I am a vegetarian, but for example, with meat, they say, I don't know if this is true or not, but they say it takes 7 years. 7 years to fully flush out whatever animal products we have in our body, if in fact that's what we've been doing, and then we get rid of it. And who knows? But so I was still cleaning out, and to this day, I'm here to tell you that it is a process. And the cleaner I get, the better I feel. And so we have to pass through many, many stages. And there is no doubt in my mind that the choice I made to get into shamanism was better than the choice than maybe making a choice to stick with conventional methods. It's a bumpy ride. And it's a slippery slope. But it was the right one for me. Kind of like you yourself said, it's like I chose this path. Because I had to. Because there was something I needed to learn. And clearly something I needed to teach in the end. The medicine is extremely strong, and it changes you from the inside And so whatever processes are in our emotional body, if you will, that become shaken, they're going to take some time to work themselves out. Most of the time, the attacks would happen at a time when I had the moment to deal with it. In other words, if I had to go do something that was important, if I had to drive somewhere or go deal with a person, somehow the body-mind system knew that I can't go there right now, and then it would happen later. And usually they would last a few minutes, and I would kind of be numb for a little while, and I just get on with my day. So as far as a direct trigger, it's just the medicine itself. It's the fact that, oh my God, you're doing something different with your life now. You're doing something drastically different with your body and with your choices. Therefore, your system is getting shaken up.